Yes, we see there is less and less publisher on the Nintendo Wii. How could you explain that?
It's because we're scaring them off. The game is so good that everyone is running away from the Wii because they don't want to be anywhere near it. You know what? There's a big conversation going on right now, right? I call it the is there a hardcore audience on the Wii jihad, right? And you know, I don't have much patience for this conversation. I consider it a religious war, and I don't participate in religious wars. It's really not my thing. There are a lot of Wiis out there, and I think that it is possible to sell games on the Wii if they're good, and if they offer gamers something new that they can't get in any other title. I think gamers will buy it. Many of the difficulties that you see with people publishing games on the Wii, I think comes from the, well, it's too many reasons to generalize, but I see a lot of developers treating the Wii like a kid's platform and thus not giving it their best teams, giving it their best effort. They don't really, not making games that they love, that they really want to play. And then in the exceptions to that, like Mad World and Conduit and Dead Space, and you know, these games that really did seem to come from the heart and soul of the developers. In each of those cases, you can see that there were some very strange sort of market forces in play that would have caused those games to fail even if they weren't on the Wii, in my opinion. So, you know, will I be sitting here in a month eating my words and saying, you know, people saying, ha ha, you only so I don't know.
Okay, but making games for a creative, like you, a creative person, is it the best choice?
For me, it was the only choice because it was the only platform that has the Wii Motion Plus. This game can't exist on another platform, period. So it just can't be done. I mean, how many first-person sword fighting games have you seen on the PlayStation 3, or the PlayStation 2, or the PlayStation 1, or at all, ever in the history of gaming? There have been like 5. Okay? And it's because the controls usually blow because a mouse or a D-pad does not work. Right, a controller it just doesn't function. You can't. It's not immersive, and it's frustrating. Right? So you need this controller to do it. So, for me, it was the only choice. And I'm also a huge sword geek personally.
Okay.
My ambition, personal ambition before Red Steel 2 was to make a sword fighting game. Now my ambition is to make another sword fighting game.
Another one?
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah. With Ubisoft?
And then to be sure, sure.
Yeah?
If they let me, we'll see. You know,
You will stay with them?
Oh yeah. I'd love to. It'd be. I mean, yeah. If they let me make sword fighting games, sure, no problem.
Okay.
I wanted to talk about the story. What
Yeah.
it is about? Cowboy Ninja.
Cowboy Ninja. What the hell? Who is this guy? Right. The story is set in a city and a county in Nevada, in an alternate version of the Nevada desert called Caldera. And our hero he's a Kusagari. He's a member of the Kusagari clan. Okay, the Kusagari clan are defenders. They're like samurai, and they protect this area, this sort of wild area of the American Midwest that, for various backstory reasons, is sort of lawless. We don't really go into that much detail about that in the game, but there's a whole backstory about the alternate world and why the world is this way. He was banished several years ago, as maybe you discovered when you spoke with Jen. And he's returned, but when he was banished, he was given the clan's katana sora, which is it just means star sword, which is a weapon of great power. He's returned home to discover that his city, his town, and his people are under attack, and he has to find out why. And we begin the story at the end of a very bad day that is going to become much worse. If you experience the drag sequence, you know that he starts out in a bad situation. So he's here to find out who's responsible behind this. Find anyone from his clan, if they're still alive, and find out what's been happening. And ultimately, the story revolves around the hero's sword, and what it can do.
What about the progression in the game? You you not want it to do it so linear.
Yeah.
What difficulties did you met during the development?
So, you mean around spreading out the powers, or just making the game?
Just comment on dit progresser dans le jeu?
To make progress,
Yeah.
To progress
in the game.
Yeah.
the universe.
Yeah. What difficulties do we have
Yeah.
to? Well, I mean, it was like any creative process. It's incredibly costly in terms of your personal blood and emotional interest. But I always approach these problems from the standpoint of what do we know and what do we want. We knew we were on the Wii. We knew we wanted it to look this way. We knew we were first person with sword and gun. We wanted it to be a modern game, and we constructed the world around that. The world really came to life through our lead character designer and the hero. We had a series of character experiments, and when he finally drew the hero that you see around, that guy with the hat and the coat, when he drew that, we all knew that's the guy. This is what we're doing. And so once we had the guy, we built the world around him. Sort of constructed the world from there. Sort of created his backstory, and I had some ideas about how I would structure the world before that and sort of fit him into it. But really, visually and in terms of really believing in the world, the moment of birth, it was the.
And you had some inspiration.
Oh yeah.
Which one?
Well, I mean, I think it's fairly obvious, right? If you've seen Sergio Leone's films, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we started with. To me, what I wanted to do is I wanted to say, okay, look, if the katana is a symbol of Japan, right, and that style of swordsmanship, and the Kira Kurosawa and the Seven Samurai, and that kind of experience, what is the gun symbol for, right? And it took about 5 minutes, or I should say 30 seconds, to get to Clint Eastwood in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and sort of progress from there. And so when we had those two ideas on the table, we started to experiment with combining them. And at first it was really weird, right? We were like, that's really weird. That's very strange. But the more we looked into it, the more exciting it became, and the more we saw, our artists developing new ideas around that concept and really pushing the boundaries. So that's always a good sign when your team starts creating on their own. It's a great sign. And I mean, it just kept going from there. I have endless stories about the development of the world. So.
And besides your game, which game are you playing at for the moment?
Right now?
Yeah.
So of course, I mean, I've been playing Modern Warfare for multiplayer for a while, like everyone. I've been playing Left 4 Dead 2. I'm in Dragon Age right now as well. I'm sort of about 3 or 4 hours into Dragon Age, so I'm right at the beginning of that, right? I've been playing, actually I've been replaying a Flash game called Gemcraft. I don't know if you've played that online. If you haven't and you like tower defense games. It's just the
Gemcraft.
Gemcraft. This is the best tower defense game, or he knows. Yeah? No? Okay. Best tower defense ever made. And I got on my DS, I've got a little roguelike called Sheeran the Wanderer. I don't know if you've seen that one, but that's fantastic. Permanent death, full item loss, incredible danger. It's a masochist's game, right? It's a game for people who hate themselves, right? I love it. I don't know if I said Left 4 Dead 2, I've been playing a lot of that. I'm playing League of Legends.
Oh yeah, I know.
Which is really cool.
Online.
I really like that. A friend of mine is one of the producers on the project, and I was following. At first, I was playing it just to play his game. Now I'm playing it because it's really fun.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I didn't play Defense
15 minutes per day, and after that,
exactly. I never played Defense of the Ancients, so it's my first, Dota experience, and it's just been great.